Well, everybody, welcome to Green Square Talks Battlebots. This is our episode 2 review and of the Battlebots the 7th World Championship. So I'm here, I'm here and co-host saying we have Civilian Arc, Blaze Gaming, Pory Nog, and Smurf all here. So how's it going, all four of you?
I,
Um,
uh,
well, I'm Civ, right?
no, you're not. You're not depressed enough to be me. I'm
Well, you
sorry.
didn't attend it.
I'm depressed enough.
You didn't attend it live, so you're not
Yeah,
Oh,
set up.
you're
that's
right.
true. That
I
is
can
true. I'm
spoil the
for you
result.
then.
Yeah, I can get attacked by whatever they call it, the thing.
Attacked by the alligator balloon by the alligator floaties that the Death Roll team floated in and threw in
The
2016.
the
Oh, I want one of
alligator.
those.
Yeah, I'd want one of those too.
Interesting.
But
Anyways,
yeah, this is our episode 2 review. Same system as last time. We'll go through each fight one by one and discuss it, and then talk about their upcoming fights. And we'll do a part 2. They'll go on the secret stash featuring our power rankings. So let's go ahead and talk about the first fight now.
robot
All right,
spot.
first one. So, bit unusual. There was a little bit of chatter on my prediction podcast about this. Very unusual that we're not seeing Sawblaze at the beginning of the season, but we are seeing it the leadoff fight of this episode where they took on Hypershock. Two pretty big names. And yeah, I got this from Civ and then Nick G as well. I'll mention that too. This was the first fight filmed during the fight night stuff, and so in a way, you could say that Sawblaze did have the first fight of the 7th World Championship of Battlebots, but
well, to be fair, if the thing hadn't happened, it almost definitely would have been the first fight of the season.
Probably. You could. Yeah, this was a pretty solid fight between the two big names, and Hyperblaze ended up being the result at the end of it. So, yeah, how about y'all talk about this fight?
So I was really hoping. So going into this fight, and because I attended this live, and so we all knew this fight was actually going to happen first. So, we were all kind of hyped going into it, and this is the result. It was certainly a fight that happened in season. The robots fought each other. They Sawblaze used its fake saw. Hypershock got shook, and Sawblaze penetrated the very durable bottom side of Hypershock and went inside of it.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair description. Oh, that's a funny cop message we just got.
Okay, Civ. I have a question for you since you were there.
Yeah.
How long were they prying away at them before Trey Rossi was like, nah, it's not happening? Like, how long would you say?
I want to say they gave it about 5 to 10 minutes before they were like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, that's a solid amount of time, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pory and Blaze, what are your thoughts on this battle? I know Smurf said he doesn't want to talk about it.
Alright, I'm going to talk
for
Smurf. This was the best fight of the season. No. This was just a dominant performance by Sawblaze. Even though Civ thinks that Sawblaze is terrible, which he's wrong, by the way.
He's wrong, yeah.
Yeah, he's wrong. Sawblaze is definitely this is probably one of the better wins from Sawblaze, but like most of Sawblaze's wins are pretty great. Well, I mean, just how fast it was, and it's a good robot as well.
I mean, if let's be real, if the thing hadn't happened, Sawblaze still would have won, because if Sawblaze had just like not engaged with Hypershock again, they weren't moving. Plus they lost 2 of their wheels that were touching the ground, just weren't doing anything. They were pretty much stuck. Like, they were going to lose by knockout anyway, because Sawblaze was, even besides that happening, Sawblaze was very dominant, taking off wheels and controlling them very well. Not to say Hypershock didn't have good moments, because they surely did, but this was Sawblaze's fight, with or without the stick.
Yeah. So yeah, this was. I was really glad to see some
they
good.
went for the final hit, man.
Yeah, I was really glad to see both robots get some moments in this one because it started out in Hypershock's favor because Hypershock got a few good hits in, including good thing Sawblaze had wheel guards since Hypershock struck one of those wheeled guards, I believe, on that big hit they got, and yeah, and then Sawblaze managed to flip Hypershock over, and we saw 3 big hits from Sawblaze. I do agree with Pory that I think even if either Sawblaze and Hypershock were able to get unstuck from each other, or Sawblaze was able to unstick itself from Hypershock, probably still would have gone in Sawblaze's favor, like what Pory said, because one of their wheels was really messed up. Another one was clean off. It looked like the belt on that side with the lost wheel was loose, making me bet they probably wouldn't have had much movement on that side.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but regardless, though, it was great to see some good moments from Hypershock. Like, I don't think this is a bad loss from Hypershock at all, because like they were up against a top tier opponent in Sawblaze, and Hypershock had some great moments in it. So I wouldn't call this a bad loss, and
they have a top tier opponent next.
Oh, they both have pretty top tier opponents.
They both have some pretty good tough matchups next.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
I would hope Sawblaze.
I'm guessing by the hints, then everybody agreed with the decision, as I did. I definitely thought Sawblaze won that, and seems like everyone else probably says the same.
I don't think. Yeah. I don't think there's really any argument.
Yeah, you can't really argue that one.
Yeah, but then the last thing I want to mention before we talk about the next opponent, that picture that Kyle posted on Discord, and I think made it on Facebook as well, basically Sawblaze was this close to getting to and penetrating a LiPo battery on that last shot. Imagine if we would have not just had an unstick there, but also had a LiPo fire to deal with. Yeah, that's...
Oh, that would have sucked.
That would have made it so much harder it would have given Civ a bit of a longer wait time before seeing whatever the next fight was, and
I think they would have just I feel like they would have just if they caught fire, and I think they would have just not tried to unstick them in the arena, just because it's too dangerous to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think that's really all to talk about with this matchup. Because I know Hypershock, definitely a lot of damage to work with. Sawblaze, they posted a damage report today, and their front was pretty messed up. They mentioned that was actually an old front from last season, and basically to avoid because they were worried about I think getting tripped up on the floor or something like that, and Hypershock taking advantage of that, so they wanted to go with an older set. And then I think they had some issues with some of the rubber on the Brazilian wheels too for part of it. I don't know if that came from the Hypershock shot or but.
Well, they were having issues with the wheels even before the fight. They documented it a little bit on Facebook where they were just struggling to drive with them, and they had a lot of hurdles to face before this fight happened. Yeah, absolutely. But fortunately, we got a great fight out of it. Let's talk about their next opponents. So, based on the Battlebots site, we know that Hypershock will take on Whiplash next, and Sawblaze will take on Lockjaw next. What do we think about both those matchups? And Civ, if you've seen either of these matchups, talk about their third fight. Yeah. So, I feel with Hypershock, they probably beat Whiplash pretty easily, I'd imagine. I mean, Whiplash isn't incapable of it, obviously. They're a fantastic machine, but, as you'll see later, I'm not the most confident, but, I feel like that matchup is definitely in Hypershock's favor as long as they don't do the thing again. But we'll see. It could go either way. We love Whiplash in his house. We love Sawblaze. We love Hypershock. We love Sawblaze too, though. And
I don't.
Yeah, but you're not. You don't count, Civ. Sawblaze As for Sawblaze with Lockjaw, if you watch Battlebots Armageddon Season 2, Episode 1, opening fight, Sawblaze beats Lockjaw. Thank you.
That is, without question, the nerdiest response and prediction ever.
Listen, I gotta show the brand, man.
Yeah, he's got to promote.
Brand?
He's got to promote it
My brand.
somehow.
Trash TV, baby.
Yeah. What do you think, Blaze?
Does that mean that you? Oh yeah. I think that Sawblaze beats Lockjaw just because Sawblaze has better ground game and probably a better weapon, and plus Lockjaw's a chain smoker, so.
Fair.
And then.
And by the way, I came up with Sawblaze Lockjaw before I knew it was a thing. They stole the idea from me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they stole the idea from Pory.
Yeah.
I also came up with something like that before I knew it was a thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I came up with it before it was filmed.
Well, what do you got? What do you got, Civ?
I'm
So, okay.
Blaze is still going.
Speak.
Blaze, quickly finish up.
Anyways,
Speak, boy, speak.
Hypershock. I don't know. I like the matchup, but I also don't like the match. Okay, Hypershock beats Whiplash probably. I think. I don't know.
All right, Civ's turn.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, so I can't watch. I can't talk about the Hypershock and Sawblaze's second fight, or BattleBots NDA will come and shove a lawsuit up my ass. But I'll talk about the third match because I never saw that. Who the hell is Hypershock even fighting in its third match? Endgame?
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah.
Endgame's gonna kick the shit out of Hypershock. I feel like.
Yeah.
Hypershock's just too.
Probably.
Hypershock's a very fast robot, which is unfortunately gonna be kind of its undoing in the endgame fight, because there's gonna be a point in time where it's fast as fuck and just flips itself over, because we've seen it time and time again in this new design of Hypershock, where it kind of just flips over to no point, and it kind of has to just self-right itself, which is gonna be hard to do when you have a four-wheel vert right up on your ass, but I think Endgame wins here with definite ease. I'd say like a 70-30 Endgame. Sawblaze Scorpios, that's going to be one of the most boring matchups of all fucking time. I'd rather. I think I'd rather die than actually see that fight.
Oh wow!
Yeah, okay. You're not gonna believe this, but I am kind of agreeing with Civ here. Like, in on paper, it's an exciting matchup, but I feel like it's gonna, in actual practice, it's gonna be a rough match, because like both robots being the same design like that, like it's gonna be difficult for one to actually be able to control the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I guess I'd probably go Sawblaze here, because it has the better driver. It has more drive power, and it just looks like the larger robot together. Like, I don't know if this is just a me thing, but Scorpios looks kind of small compared to Sawblaze.
Small.
Yeah. I do worry that I do worry about that one, because like while it is a matchup that I know a lot of people have been wanting, at least I don't think it'll live. I think that's a fight where it's not going to live up to the hype, but I still want to see it regardless, just to see what happens. And
I want to see it so that people understand that it's a bad matchup.
I wouldn't say just because it's a bad matchup, like, but fair enough.
I don't think I understand why they haven't done it for this long. Because, well, let's see here. Sawblaze is just Scorpios, but better in pretty much every way. Except maybe for taking horizontals.
I'd say durability is in Scorpios' favor as well.
Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
But anyway, back to this, because we don't need to continue talking about that. My takes on these: I think Hypershock and Sawblaze win both their next fights. Well, I think both these two robots win their next fight. basically all of those, like, I think the big thing is going to be ground game with those two, and I think Hypershock and Sawblaze win the ground game against both those robots. I think Mad Baskets and Donald Hudson are going to need to pull out some driving tactics to be able to take out those, or if Will Bales or Jameson Go make some driving mistakes, which they have in the past. I think those are probably the best routes for Whiplash and Lockjaw, but I have to edge it out with Hypershock and Sawblaze for those two matchups. But but like, to be fair, like, those are all big names in there, so like, it absolutely could go. Whiplash could absolutely take out Hypershock. Lockjaw could absolutely take out Sawblaze. They all have the capability for that. So, regardless, both those should be good matchups, and I can't wait to see them. So, let's go ahead and talk about fight number 2 then.
Yo, better Waiachi bot.
Oh, this fight.
Oh yes, this fight. I think this one lived up to. I think this one lived up to the hype that Battlebots is giving this thing, because Battlebots used this in the trailer quite a few times, posted quite a few pictures of this fight, and indeed, this was a very chaotic fight, at least from what I saw on TV. I don't know if Civ would agree, since Civ saw this one live, but let's go ahead and talk about the fight. I want to hear from Civ first, actually, on this one, just because of how interesting this fight was.
East. Yeah, sure. So, yeah, going into this fight, this was a very, like, I remember that a lot of the crowd was like, yeah, this fight is going to be, like, I heard a lot of back chatter in the crowd, obviously, and they're like, yeah, this fight is kind of just going to happen. And this fight was complete chaos, and had, like, Fusion throwing emulsifier around it, set itself on fire, and then you could literally smell the lipo coming from Fusion. And, like, watching emulsifier just, like, get absolutely decimated like that and still somehow, like, make it to the closing bell is amazing. Emulsifier and Fusion making it this far into the closing bell was absolutely insane.
I must ask this. Was it true that they had to use 4 fire extinguishers to put out the lipo fire in Fusion?
Yes, that was correct. That is, they needed a fuck ton of things, because it was like, because they don't show the whole, like, smoke thing. The entire arena was just consumed in Fusion smoke, and like, they needed
that's amazing.
Needed a ton of fire extinguishers to fix that shit, and yeah, it panned out, I guess.
Yeah, so what was the wait time in between fights after this one and whatever the next fight was?
I want to probably like 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh, that's shorter than I expected. I expected you to say like half an hour or something.
It was kind of a wait. No, it could have been 30 minutes. Say, yeah, like somewhere. It didn't take longer than like half an hour, I'd say, but it definitely did.
Yeah, you said there was one fight in particular that you thought was like the best fight you ever saw. Was this it, or is that an upcoming fight?
That's upcoming.
Okay, that's upcoming. So you heard it, viewers. There's another really good one coming. So
yeah,
at least in Civ's opinion, we'll see.
Well, this one's definitely, I'd say, like top 3 in the ones I attended live, because this was amazing.
Have we seen? Okay.
All right, Blaze and Pory, what are your opinions?
Go first, Blaze.
All right. Well, I will say that a miracle happened in this fight. Fusion actually went to the judges, which is, I believe, the first time that's ever happened, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think so. I think all Fusion's fights ended in knockouts, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Whether it was win or loss.
Yep. I will say that I did predict this fight correctly, which is pretty funny. I will say that I'm not 100% confident in Emulsifier or Fusion.
Yeah.
Fusion's gonna be Rotator though.
Yeah, okay.
We'll see.
If Fusion beats Rotator, Zaza did say that he'll eat Summer, which is funny.
Yeah. Got some vor going on.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Pory, how about you talk about the fight?
Or you go.
Okay, so like it's been said before, this fight was incredible, no doubt. It Fusion survived. Just, I mean, they did the thing they usually do, but they did survive the thing this time, which is an improvement. Uh, that said, um, I don't have faith for Emulsifier. Um, I don't know. It really depends if they have a ground game configuration, because I'm pretty sure they fight a vert in the fight night, if I'm not mistaken.
No, actually.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, because
They just
their
fight a
schedule
bird.
remaining is Malice, Banshee, and Quantum.
Okay, so
Oh.
they fight two robots where ground game's gonna kind of play a role. That
I would say all three, actually, because I think seeing that Malice is their next opponent, I bet they use Wedgelets for that. I bet Malice comes in with Wedgelets for that fight.
yeah,
And,
but
Yeah, they use
to
the
their
forks.
benefit, that wedge is definitely a wedge that could tank
Yeah.
some good horizontal hits, I'd imagine. But that said, I do have concerns over them. The weapon obviously hits very hard, but it just doesn't seem like it's the best robot. I could be wrong. I hope I am. That'd be cool because I like the concept behind it. That said, as far as their next fights go,
we'll talk about that in a bit. But,
we'll talk about that. Okay.
yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, my takes on this one, like everyone else said, banger fights. And regarding Fusion, it's not Fusion without a meltdown, at least at some point in the season. And we got one here, and not only did we get a meltdown, but Fusion survived the meltdown for the full 3 minutes, which was, well, I think they were only on fire for like the last minute, minute and a half, but it's still impressive that they survived that fight and managed to take it to a judge's decision. But yeah, the other stuff involving Fusion, like that thing definitely hits really hard, at least as it has in the past. Was very impressive what both spinners were able to do, and yeah, and then regarding Emulsifier, I still have faith in Emulsifier, and that's not out of bias for the fact that I have Emulsifier on my team in the Dippy Egg draft, but because like some of the stuff that did impress me, Fusion is a hard hitting robot, and Emulsifier was able to tank those hits really well, and then as well, those treads were pretty oddly durable in my opinion, because Fusion got quite a few good hits on one of those sides right there before that tread like gave out for the rest of the fight, and like
Yeah.
that gives me a little more hope on their defense with those exposed treads. But yeah, and then the weapon was pretty powerful. My guess is it was because Fusion's top was actually cracked and looked like it was probably about to come off. Probably one of those hits that Emulsifier managed to get probably caused the lipo fire. But then the other thing is possibly that it's Fusion, that it overheated everything or something. But I don't know. I haven't seen a damage report. But yeah, something that wasn't talked about here that I hope Emulsifier makes sure is fixed for the next fight. The vert was not working at the beginning of that match. They were having issues with it. It was kind of like Hypershock in the 2018 season, where a couple times their spinner was able to spin up a little bit and then it'd go right back down. And like it seems like that was something with like the operator or something, because the weapon was going at full speed for a big chunk of the rest of the fight following that stuff. But it's still something to look at and make sure is confirmed, because those other three matchups are going to want the spinner working at 100%, or else they're going to have a repeat of something like this. But yeah, anyway, let's talk about the next matchups for these two robots. Pory, you want to go first then, since you were so eager to get into it earlier?
Okay, so I'm having a really hard time with Emulsifier versus Malice because, in theory, if Emulsifier actually works correctly, I feel like they definitely win that fight. But Malice is definitely a durable and good robot, and it could snipe like the treads or something and, cause drive issues. But that wedge is definitely built to take some brutal, like, horizontal hits. Fusion and Witch Doctor. If Fusion beats Witch Doctor, then I'll eat Subway.
You do, because that's happening.
Yeah, we'll get a meatball
So
marinara event from Pory too. We didn't get one from Cordy after he chickened out. So.
Fusion. Let's be real. Fusion is not beating Witch Doctor.
When Fusion beats Witch Doctor,
Why don't you go next,
Fusion's
Blaze,
gonna
since you're
be Witch
talking
Doctor.
about that fight? So how about you go next,
Fusion's
Blaze?
gonna go 4-0. They're gonna be Witch
No
Doctor,
good.
Huge, and Rotator.
Yeah, they're not gonna beat Huge. Let's be real here.
Actually, I feel like they have the highest chance of beating Huge out of the next 3 matchups, just because they actually have a kind of a way to hit Huge.
I guess that's
And plus,
true.
with what we saw from Witch Doctor's video, I don't know if Green's gonna put the config on screen or not, but Witch
No, I
Doctor
won't.
is gonna run a plow that does not appear to be that appears to be above like the it's not ground scraping. It's not a ground scraping plow, which I think is going to cost them the fight because I think if they just use the vert, I think they can actually beat Witch Doctor.
What do you
Which would
got?
be pretty funny. And then Emulsifier Malice is a toss up. That happens in episode 4, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, because
Yeah.
yes, I
Alright.
know Malice has their
Well,
first fight next week, and I'm pretty sure they fight again the following week.
yeah. Well, Emulsifier Malice could go either way for me. I think I have to see Malice's next fight before I make a judgment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But right now I'm leaning towards Emulsifier just because I don't know how good Malice's ground game is.
What do you got, Sev, to talk about with?
Okay, so I saw their second fight, so I will not speak on them.
Yeah, I think Emulsifier got Banshee for their third fight, and I think Fusion's got Huge for their third fight.
Yeah,
Right?
so
The Fusion has Huge.
Fusion versus Huge. I'm willing to say Huge has that because if Huge just gets the right shot on the top of Fusion, it kind of just will get set on fire. But I'm not really confident on saying Fusion there, and I'd say like 55 to 45 chance of Huge winning that. Definitely up in the air there, though. Much like Emulsifier was in this fight. Emulsifier versus Banshee. I don't know, because I feel like if Banshee gets like hit once on Emulsifier, it'll be kind of over for them. But if Emulsifier, but I don't really know if Emulsifier's ground game is that good against Banshee, who has forks. So I guess I'll say Banshee, but I'm not confident.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my takes on these two matchups. I'm going to start with Fusion and Witch Doctor. What Blaze was referring to by the plow thing, at the end of the fight recap from the Ribot fight, they show footage of them in the test box with a plow configuration, making me wonder: is that the configuration they're going with for the fight with Fusion? In that case, that worries me a little bit because they might be falling into a similar trap that Cobalt kind of did when they fought Fusion. Because, like, basically, one of the hardest things to prepare for with Fusion is the fact that there are two weapons. And that's my guess for my guess is Multiplier probably had a hard time preparing for both weapons, and yeah, and I worry that Witch Doctor could possibly be falling into the same trap where I feel they prepared really well for the horizontal spinner, but I'm not sure how well they prepared for the vertical spinner. So that worries me quite a bit with that matchup and why I might actually lean towards Fusion on that one. But there is a possibility though that is not the configuration they are going with because they didn't confirm or deny that. So. But yeah, that should be a good fight either way. Battlebots did hype that up a little bit in the trailer with that one moment I believe they showed off from that fight, but I expect that's probably going to be a good match, and I can't wait to see it. But I really hope we get to see some success from Fusion this season. Like, we already saw them get one win in this beast of a fight, but you already heard it from these guys. Well, not in this context, but their other three opponents are Witch Doctor, Huge, and Rotator. That's a hard schedule going on for Fusion. And, like, I think if they're going to make bracket, I think they need to win at least one of those fights. And, like,
they're going to all of them. They're going to be the number 1 seed. Let's go.
If they win all three of those fights, they definitely deserve a very high seed. I don't know about one at least, but they definitely could. They definitely be up there. I could definitely see Fusion be dark horse for this year, but yeah. Anyway,
Fusion is my dark horse.
And then Emulsifier and Malice. So that fight, I'm really looking forward to that one. Like, I mentioned this in Scorpios' recent Builder blog video where they asked what fights people were most looking forward to. Out of the fights that I didn't know were happening until I saw the schedule, that's one of them that really got my attention right there. Because I predict that Emulsifier, I bet they go with a similar configuration they did right here. But then Malice, I bet they go with Forks for that fight. Because we know they brought those for this upcoming season, but who knows? We still have a Malice fight to see next week because we know they'll fight Lockjaw next week, which I'm really looking forward to that one too. And regardless, though, as of right now, I think I'm going to lean toward more in favor of Malice, but I think that's going to be a chaotic fight, and I can't wait to see that thing. So. Okay, let's move on unless if anyone else has any other comments to say. Yeah, Smurf says in podcast chat that he would be leaning towards Malice on that fight, and yeah. I wonder why Blaze left. Civ, you want to say the words?
Finally gone. Let's fucking go.
That's not the words I thought you were gonna say.
Oh, what's
the hopes and dreams thing that we made fun of Pory and Mantine for on the episode 1 review?
Oh yeah, that's true. So y'all ever just like tune into Discovery Channel and you like almost an hour into the show and then you see your podcast buddies' hopes and dreams get absolutely fucked? Yeah, that's what happened here.
Smurf commenting bedtime for him. That's a pretty funny comment, but yeah. So fight number 3, we had Mammoth and Valkyrie. So we got Mammoth making another return for this season, and then Valkyrie first fight under new ownership. So under Lucy, who was on Team Sawblaze the past few seasons, and this fight was a little less one-sided than I thought it was going to be, but I'm going to let Civ and Pory talk about it and Smurf make comments and whatever.
This fight is funnier when you realize how long it took for those two to be stuck. I want to say it took them 20 minutes to say fuck this and just dragged both of their asses out of the arena when they were stuck. And it took about 3 to 5 fights until they finally went back into the arena.
Ooh, I didn't think there was that much of a break, because what I thought happened was that they took them out of the arena and then immediately were able to separate them and then just put them back in the arena, but that's good to know.
Yeah, it took a bit. I'm sure they were like up and at them in a shorter time than that, but they had to be like, yeah, let's just like get everything in check, because like, you know, Mammoth probably had to detach their fork there, and Valkyrie probably needed battery recharge and shit. So yeah.
Here, I'll let Pory share his opinions, and I'm going to put a message in the podcast chat. Tell him we finished talking about that fight. Just because I think it'll be funny. So, Pory, how about you talk about this fight?
Are they there?
Yeah, can't hear you, Pory.
Pory, say nothing if you ate ribot. Damn.
Wow. Well, Pory is fixing whatever the problem is. I'll talk about this one. So, yeah, I talked about this a little bit in the prediction chat, but this was kind of a rough matchup for Mammoth because like Valkyrie is a very top tier horizontal spinner, and uh, even with it being under new ownership, I did find it very funny that like Mammoth charged in there and then managed to get its fork stuck in Valkyrie's spinner like that quickly, and but Civ hinted at this already, but we had an unstick in this one, like what we had in the opening matchup of basically. But then Battlebots edited it out, and I thought it was adorable how they edited it out. Personally, like they set it up to where it looked like Mammoth's fork was hooked onto Valkyrie still, and then Mammoth just used the lifter to shake Valkyrie free. Like I thought it was pretty obvious that it was editing even before I knew there was an unstick, but it was still a very funny editing moment, and I kind of admired it. So, but yeah, and then we had a pretty funny moment in there when Mammoth got flipped, and then both ends of the lifter snapped, which I have a feeling which I don't think were done because of Valkyrie's spinner, because I don't think Valkyrie connected up to where it was broken, up to where the pieces broke. But yeah, because like I'm not sure if it was under their own power or if maybe the screws caused it or something. I know Pory mentioned before we started this thing, which I bet if whatever is going on with his audio stuff, if he's probably going to mention this too, but he suggested the idea that possibly Mammoth had a bad batch of material with that lifter, and that would absolutely make sense if he is, but we don't have any confirmation on whether he's right or wrong about that. So, yeah, so there, Pory got it fixed. Well, then, should we talk about their next match? Let's talk about their next matchups. I think Blaze already.
Did you think that Valkyrie was based for taking out Mammoth? Because I know you love Valkyrie.
Do I? I'm guessing he's talking to you, Blaze.
Me?
Wait.
No.
Wait, can you hear Pory, Blaze?
Yeah, I cannot.
No, I can't hear. No, I cannot hear Pory. Big sad.
Yeah, big sad.
Next fights.
Yeah, I think Mammoth's third fight's Death Roll. Valkyrie, I think it's Malice, actually.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Does Valkyrie fight Malice?
Yes, it does.
I know the
or it might be
it
might be Glitch. It might be Glitch, actually.
I have the site up.
It's either Glitch or Val.
I have the site up. I'll check. It is Malice.
Okay. Yeah, how about you go ahead and talk about those?
Okay, so Death Roll versus Mammoth, that is a Keck W moment. I'm not even going to acknowledge a prediction because I feel like it's pretty obvious. I haven't watched the fight, but it's
kind of obvious.
It's like when they gave Witch Doctor Mammoth. We all know what's gonna happen.
And Mammoth beat Witch Doctor.
Nah. But what's the much more interesting?
Just let me have fun.
What's the much more interesting fight? Yes, Valkyrie versus Malice. I honestly have no clue how that's gonna go. Because I think
Valkyrie's losing all its next fights.
But I think that Malice. I think I'd go Valkyrie here because I think Valkyrie could probably knock like part of the weapon frame off and do some damage to it. While Malice, on the other hand, could do some damage on Valkyrie's chassis. And I think all Valkyrie needs is some front armor to that to stay alive. So I think I'd go Valkyrie in that fight. Yeah.
What do you got for those two fights, Blaze? I think we already know your opinions on them, but might as well talk about them.
Well, Valkyrie's losing, and I think Mammoth wins. Starchild is just. I'm not sure how Starchild's gonna do.
I haven't seen Mammoth versus Starchild.
Talk about it then.
Interesting.
Mammoth wins.
Ooh,
Yo, based.
it's very confident. But yeah, my takes on these. I'm going to start with Valkyrie Banshee. I hope we'll get to see Banshee working better than it did in its fight. We'll talk more about that when we get to that fight. But but as of right now, I think Valkyrie is going to absolutely wreck Banshee in that fight. Mantine. But, and then as for Mammoth and Starchild, that's a weird matchup because like they're two very unusual robots, and like this is like a repeat of like Mammoth and Huge, basically, where we got two of the big robots in there and two of the more unusual designs. Two of those designs were like it's a little bit tricky to figure out how to attack something so odd like that, and the fact that we got those two robots facing off should be interesting. So as of right now, I am going Mammoth on that fight, but we haven't seen Starchild fight yet. I don't know if it's next episode or the following episode where we get to see its first
episode
fight.
4.
But, yeah,
it's against Overhaul.
Yeah, exactly. But like that'll be an interesting fight. As of right now, I'm going Mammoth, but I could very easily switch to Starchild because I've been going back and forth on that one. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to the next fight then, unless if anyone else has anything left to say. Oh yes, this fight which I predicted correctly. So yeah. So next fight, Mad Catter and Whiplash, and this one Chris and Kenny were joined by a guest commentator being Jameson Go, and I have heard that they did do this more time. They did do this more, but with other builders as well, where they throw other builders in that commentary spot, and it should be exciting to see that stuff. But yeah, talking about this matchup then. So both robots that were kind of going for ground game here, and battle between two pretty elite robots and two pretty elite drivers. So knew this was probably going to be a good match, and we got a pretty good one here. So how about y'all talk about this fight? And hey, Mantine.
Whiplash got fucking shit on!
Well, interesting response there. That was pretty good. I'll give him that one. So, yeah, boys. How about you two talk about that fight?
I'll say this. I really
free draft points.
I really like the addition of the guest commentators. I think it's a good addition to the sport. What fight are we talking about?
Mad Catter Whiplash.
Yeah, Whiplash got fucking shit on. But hey,
sorry, I had to go one more in there. All right, continue.
There's good news that came out of this. We finally got rid of Salad and we got Whiplash back. So
no, we didn't. The spinner never even worked, so we actually didn't. But it was a good attempt.
That's just Whiplash in a nutshell.
There was an attempt to get rid of Salad.
Yeah. But yeah, this was good driving by Calvin Eba and Mad Catter. They really hung in there and made fun of Whiplash, which is iconic.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something I want to talk about. I'm going to go next on this one because something I want to talk about because I have a little bit of a theory on this one. I think before Mad Catter, I think right before Mad Catter got those two big hits we saw that killed Whiplash, I want to say Whiplash lost drive on a wheel right there based on how Whiplash was driving because after partway into the match, they were... Oh, I think we heard Pory. I think Pory's back.
I'm back, yeah.
Heck yeah. But
Pory's back, let's go!
But where I was going with that, Whiplash was... Like, Mad Catter got a few of those small shots right there. Whiplash got a couple of those lifts. Whiplash was driving not exactly in a straight line. They were driving like not exactly crab walking, but in a way that makes me kind of think they lost drive. In a way that makes me think they lost drive on a wheel, similar to the issues they had against both Bloodsport and Scorpios last season. But regardless, though, it was great driving by Calvin Eva. Because, I'm not sure how much of a difference exactly lifting the fork up there made, but as soon as they did it, was when they started landing bigger shots, so I would guess it was very helpful, and we got a great first fight from Mad Catter. That was definitely a statement victory from that thing up against a big name like Whiplash. So, all right, Pory, Blaze, Mantine. Even though I think
Mad Catter's going 4-0.
Hold on, Blaze. Let me give my input on that before I don't want to jump to conclusions. Yeah, they're going 4-0.
Yo.
It was a good. Okay, Mantine. Go back to listening to Led Zeppelin or whatever you do. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So this was a very good display on Mad Catter's part. I don't think Whiplash has ever been knocked out like that. I mean, they've been knocked out before, obviously, but not like that. Or they're pooping out their internals and stuff.
Yeah, the only fight I could really say being close to that was Sawblaze.
Yeah, but that was more so an overshot, but that said, it's.
I think I can think of another time in the first Tombstone fight, maybe.
No.
Yeah, but they were definitely a different machine back then, though. To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't have the actual good wheels.
Yeah, they had crappy wheels, and they weren't as durable as they are now. But yeah, that was definitely a victory. And Mad Catter is looking good this season. I do think that they're looking at probably either 4-0 or 3-1 maybe.
1-3? No.
3-1. Because the Riptide fight could go either way, but
no, the Riptide fight's going one way, and it's the Mad Catter way.
I can't imagine a scenario where Big Dill beats them in Lockjaw unless they've drastically improved. They probably don't.
Unless the Lockjaw is unless Lockjaw is Robot Jesus.
Fair.
Yeah.
Mantine, you want to talk about this one before we get to their next matchups? Or Mad Catter and Riptide? We already talked about Whiplash Hypershock earlier.
Well, I think I've said most of what needs to be said. However, I will come back and you've put it into actual words. Whiplash got shit on and spit on. It was pretty good to see. Mad Catter really fucking gave it to even barring the wedge troubles that they had in the beginning. Once they got under, Whiplash broke down like it always does when it takes one singular hit, which was good to see some consistency from the Whiplash team, being that the robot doesn't work if it ever gets hit. And it was a good showing by Mad Catter, 3-1, I'd say, and Whiplash, hopefully 0-4.
Wow. But
I can't tell if this is out of spite or if you actually want them to go 0-4.
I don't know, but yeah, we did get to see a little bit of action from Whiplash at least, but definitely Mantine's probably on the right track. That Whiplash got dominated after Mad Catter started getting underneath it. And let's talk about Mad Catter and Riptide since we already talked about Whiplash Hypershock. So
redraft points.
What do y'all think about that one? Now that we've seen Mad Catter,
redraft points. Redraft points.
Both of these robots hit super hard, as we've seen. Mad Catter is very commonly slept on, and its weapon powder. And I've been playing too much Showdown. I've been spamming Sleep Powder, but no, its weapon power is really slept on. It did it against Rampage, albeit that's not as impressive, but it showed us again here why you can't really mess around with Mad Catter. It's got a lot of power in it. Riptide, very similarly, huge knockout shot on the glitch. I think whoever gets the better of the first one or maybe two exchanges will probably get the win. Mad Catter is notoriously reliable, and Riptide has been very similarly decently reliable, actually. So it's really going to depend on just who gets the first big shot and who can make better use of the wedge game.
Absolutely.
And Hypershock's gonna shit on Whiplash. I didn't get to say that, but
That's fair. Yeah, you weren't there for that moment.
You were saying that earlier.
All right, go ahead.
Do I go?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw the 2 fights, so I can't have NDA beat my ass. So we'll go to the 3rd fights instead. Mad Catter versus Big Cock. Catter's probably gonna win this. I don't really see a situation where Big Dill wins.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Unfortunately, let's see the fight. Whiplash versus Monsoon. I have a hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think Whiplash will probably win that fight because I just
Is
don't
that a
see.
hot take?
Maybe, I don't know.
Not really. I mean, I feel like Whiplash probably is the favored one to win that.
Well, unless you're Mantine.
Oh, Mantine's a contrarian. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's busy checking to see what color his Bugatti is. So, you know.
True.
Well, anyway, I'll talk about this stuff. So, Mad Cutter Riptide, like, both those robots had a statement victory over big names for their first fight. I'm predicting that's a main event for what episode that happens, because I think this one is going to have some big-time seeding implications, just because, like, whoever wins this fight is going to be in a really good place for the bracket, and both those 2 robots, I think, have a separate fight coming that I think they could win pretty easily, but we'll find out. Anyway, I think Mantine's logic on that fight is probably how that fight is going to go, which it really could go either way. I think I'm going to lean towards Riptide on that one, but
who's Mantine?
But like what was said, that really could go either way. I think either one of them could win that fight, and I'm expecting we're going to see a beast of a fight between those 2 robots. So, yeah, I don't think everyone else has gone on this one, but
I think we should email that dude from Dragon Slayer and ask his thoughts.
Yeah. Jordan Neal needs to tell us what he's thinking.
Well, Jordan's still in this server, so
it is true.
Ping and be like, "What do you think about this?"
Well, anyone else have anything left to say about this one, or should we get on to the next fight? Since it sounds like there's.
I have one thing to say.
Go ahead.
I do not think Mad Cat or Riptide's going to be the main event, because we have 2 other fights that are probably better for the main event, being Blip versus Huge and Lockjaw versus Sawblaze.
Oh, that's true. Like,
I'd probably go Lockjaw.
Yeah, I bet it's either Lockjaw Sawblaze or Mad Cat or Riptide. Like,
yeah,
I bet one of those matchups is the leadoff. One of those is the main. The other between those 2 is the main event, and I bet Huge and Blip is the midway major of that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I think it. Actually, I could see it being that way, because I mean, I think Huge versus Blip is like. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, Banshee and Switchback. So, yeah, this one was a pretty interesting fight. We got to see the debut of Banshee and David Small's pneumatic flipper, and then we got to see the new improved Switchback in action for this fight, and we got a pretty big 3-minute brawl from these 2 robots. So, let's go ahead and hear everyone's thoughts on this one then. And Smurf said he wishes Banshee worked properly, which we'll get to talk about that.
Honestly,
this was a boring fight.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the fight because I know I was standing with a Switchback poster and some other dude was standing with the Banshee poster, so maybe they put that on TV. I need to check.
I don't remember.
But yeah, this was a fight that happened.
Can't wait for the bung posters.
Yeah, bung.
Yeah, why didn't you bring a bung poster, Civilian Arc?
Because he's worried Bung is going to go 4-0 and it's going to go out of stock.
Fair.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to piss anyone off by leaving them out of the stock or the fucking Bung poster game, so he's not going to give anyone a Bung poster.
Fair. Yeah, any other thoughts on this Civilian Arc, or should we go to Blaze and Pory?
We can go to Blaze Gaming and Pory Nog.
Okay. So I have a few things I'm thinking. For one, both these robots really gotta up their game if they're gonna make waves in the tournament. I mean, Switchback got a dub, but it was a pretty subpar dub. That said, Banshee needs to work on their durability, I think, because that wasn't it. Also, Banshee's a lot smaller than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, Civilian Arc and I heard that from when we met with David Small for the Newcomer podcast. He was making it. Banshee is a small and it's a small and compact version. It's like the spring flipper of Tantrum, but it's a pneumatics flipper instead.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like the size of like Sub-Zero, but it's a lot tinier. But I mean that's fine. Like that means that they could potentially fix the durability issue. But also another thought. Well, Switchback needs to work on their reliability, especially with that lifter. Also, why the fuck did I said Tantrum. Why the fuck did Switchback use like that particular lifter? It's like I feel like that's a lifter you would use for like a horizontal or something. Like you know how they have like a fork one, but they use like the wedge. I don't know. It just seems like a. I mean, I'm not a bot builder, and I guess I'm being kind of an armchair builder right now. But like, I don't know if that was the correct choice. I mean, they won the fight, so what do I know? But that said, we'll see. Also, Banshee doesn't scream, and I'm sad.
Yeah, same here. Blaze, you want to talk about this one?
I guess not.
Damn, Blaze doesn't want to talk about this one.
It's okay.
He says he's eating goldfish. That's fair, but
okay. Well,
yeah, I'll talk about this one. I'm kind of backing up Pory's claim a little bit in a way because I think both these robots were victims of some first round gremlins. Because Switchback, the arm didn't seem to work for majority of the fight, and then they also had, and then I'm guessing their motors were overheating at the end of the fight, which is what that smoke was that we saw. And then Banshee, on the other hand, I'm not sure if that's their durability, why they took so much damage like that, or if that's just Switchback's weapon is that much more powerful this year. And it could be either one, but the big one that I'd say with Banshee is more that their flipper didn't have a lot of power to it. And I'm not sure if the flipper just wasn't at full power, like this was a repeat of Hydra and Gruff, as an example of what I'm talking about, or if that's really the power we're going to see from Banshee all season. I hope that's not accurate because.
Hold on, I can actually give you
the
answer. Okay, I can give you the answer actually. And this comes from David Small in Uda, January 13th, 2023 at 4:59 a.m. A mix of the tanks not being full, valve issues, ram sealing issues, and Battlebots nerfing the output pressure. And he said he'll be putting a video out in more detail, which maybe you could link in the description if it's out by then.
Absolutely.
TLDR pneumatics are complicated.
Yeah, that would make sense as for why we weren't seeing much flipper power there, because that was the big thing that I got out of Banshee in this one, the big gremlin that I think they need to work with, and hopefully that's an issue they could solve, because as we can see, they're taking on Valkyrie next, and I think that's going to be a huge test for Banshee's durability, and hopefully that thing's going to be in check for when they fight that one. But yeah, let's talk about Switchback and Death Roll then, since we've already talked about Banshee Valkyrie back. back when we.
I didn't talk about Banshee Valkyrie.
Oh yeah, you haven't. Yeah, because
I had to take care of something. Also, Valkyrie Mammoth was a funny fight. Okay, so the Valkyrie probably beats Banshee. For being honest, I don't know. Valkyrie didn't really impress me that much in their fight, but Banshee impressed me less. So I think Valkyrie probably wins that unless Banshee's really up their game. And Switchback Death Roll, Jesus Christ, Death Roll.
Yeah, Blaze or Civ, you two wanna?
Let me check what the third fights are.
Banshee, you already talked about that one because it's emulsifier for the third fight.
Yeah, that's true.
Switchback, I don't remember who the Switchback's third fight is.
That would be Ominous.
Ominous? Ooh, that's interesting, actually.
I'd wager Switchback, I guess. On that one, it's hard to say, but I'd wager Switchback.
Yeah, it's hard to say when we haven't seen the one robot fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well. So unless
draft points.
What do you think about this fight, Blaze? Or
3 draft points
for Switchback Death Roll or Switchback Banshee or both?
Switchback Death Roll. I have Death Roll. 3 draft points.
Yeah, and so my opinion on that fight, like Switchback's definitely going to need to be on their A game because Death Roll is a vicious opponent for Switchback, and Switchback's going to need the drive figured out. They're going to probably need the arm figured out, but I don't think this is going to be quite as one-sided as what Pory seems to be implying here.
No, I think they'll have moments.
Oh yeah. I think Switchback will have a few moments, but I gotta lean towards Death Roll right now for that one. Like that's just a really difficult matchup for Switchback, but we'll see Death Roll in the next episode actually, which should be an exciting one. And yeah, we'll find out if Blaze is right that Death Roll will beat Cobalt or not. So
it would be pretty based.
It would be pretty funny if they did. But so anything else on this fight, or should we get to Civ's favorite fight of the episode? All right, Civ's favorite fight.
Oh yeah.
All right, Civ's favorite fight featuring his favorite robot, Hijinks, who is taking on Big Dill, who chose to not use their vertical spinner for this fight. Decided to heavily armor up for this fight and just use the lifter for this one, and to be able to protect themselves a little bit better from Hijinks' spinner. So I think there were definitely some pros and some cons with Hijinks on this fight, and I'm sure we'll probably be discussing all that stuff here. But what's everyone's thoughts on this matchup then?
Cringe.
It was cool. Honestly a bad. It was a good match, but it was a bad matchup. That makes sense.
Well, Hijinks had their annual teething issues, but they're improving because now they still won the fight. That said, they definitely got some things. They got some quirks to work out, which I think they'll do. They always do. It was fine. Big Dill, on the other hand, I think that they can work out stuff too. One thing that I've noticed about Big Dill is that they're like really fast, and I like that. They're way faster than they used to be, which I think will make for good fights later on, probably. And I'm looking forward to seeing them fight again for sure. But I mean, this fight was fine. I mean, it's not the greatest thing ever, but it was fun enough, and it went almost the way I expected it to go.
Yeah. Ladies, you want to talk about this fight while I'm pulling something up?
He's eating goldfish.
She's still eating goldfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my takes on this fight, it was a pretty solid victory from Hijinks for the most part. I am worried about Big Dill at least, because Big Dill's schedule going forward is very hard going forward. And I felt Hijinks was probably one of the matches they needed to really take advantage of. And Big Deal just didn't have a lot of good moments in this fight. But I think a lot of that is just because Orion Beach did a phenomenal job driving this fight, at least, because he used the tail to hold Big Deal back long enough to get the spinner up to speed and get underneath Big Deal a few times. But really, there wasn't really too much Big Deal really could have done, at least in this one, just because they probably wouldn't have wanted to lower the lifter because Hijinks probably would have broken it or something. But Big Deal came in to defend themselves in the horizontal spinner. It overall did an okay job on that because they were able to survive the hits for a while until Hijinks' spinner fell, but then they ended up falling due to, I think I heard a battery fire was what happened, but I don't remember. But what really impressed me, well, the pros and cons I felt with Hijinks here, the big pro being Orion Beach driving was great in this fight. I thought he was pretty spot on for the most part. Hijinks is a lot more maneuverable when flipped upside down than they have been in seasons past, which is absolutely a good thing. But then the cons, Pory mentioned the teething issue, and they lost the spinner pretty early on. And I think this is one of the first fights where we've seen Hijinks lose that horizontal spinner like that, because it's been a pretty reliable weapon the past few seasons, but that was not the case for this fight. They lost the horizontal spinner and had to do a push-in battle for that. And Blaze, I'm talking about reliability within the weapon. So.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I don't think Hijinks has ever had their spinners stop up until this fight, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong though. So.
Probably are.
I don't know. No, but.
You probably are.
I don't care. I don't. But
yeah,
hopefully Hijinks has that issue sorted out because they are taking on Captain Shredderator next, and I think they'll definitely need I think they'll definitely need those weapon issues that Pory and I mentioned.
Yeah, they'll
resolve
the weapon issues,
and well, I said have them solved. So. Yeah.
Well, I said that. Is that a...
That's you saying you want Captain Shredder to win. So.
Oh, never mind.
But yes, it would definitely appreciate that. But let's go ahead and talk about those next matchups because I don't think there's really much more to talk about with this one. Hopefully, we can see. I really hope we can see Big Deal bounce back from this one, and hopefully see the vertical spinner at some point soon. Just because. Even though I am concerned about its damage capabilities, I still want to see it. I want to see them prove me wrong on that, and because it's kind of what this sport is all about. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and talk about these two matchups then rather than me talk about how I hope Big Deal bounces back, which I hope they do. So,
what?
Yeah, what do you think about their next matchups, Blaze?
Well. I think that Hijinks is going to beat Captain Shredderator because, well, if you know, you know. And I think that I think Scorpios will beat Big Deal just because I'm not 100% sure how Big Deal can really face Scorpios.
Yeah, at least here I'll go next. At least I'm predicting we're going to get to see the vertical spinner for that fight with Scorpios.
Yeah, probably.
I'm predicting Big Deal comes in with the vertical spinner and some extra top armor to defend from Scorpios, but I'm leaning towards. I think Scorpios will win that fight. I'm actually going to say by judge's decision on that one, and I think we'll get to see some moments from Big Deal. So
hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so, because absolutely love the robot. And Emmanuel has a great backstory behind him. Including Zach even commented on the recent Builder blog that they fought several times in other competitions, and apparently Zach has gotten outdriven several times in several of those matchups, at least from what I heard.
Well,
it'll be an interesting rematch from side competitions, and we'll see if he can...
Yeah.
We'll see if he can win this rematch. But with Hijinks Captain Shredderator, I think that one's going to come down to who fixed up their robot better. Because while Hijinks did win, they had some issues they need to sort out for this fight. Captain Shredder is on the same boat, except that Captain Shredder lost their first fight. I think whoever sorted out their issues better is going to win this fight, but I'm going to lean towards Hijinks right now, because despite the fact that Captain Shredder has the design advantage between those two robots, because I bet Captain Shredder is going to go with a cone-shaped spinner, like what they use against like Tombstone. Uh, I'm more confident in Hijinks at this point, and that's why I'm going to go Hijinks for this fight. So, Pory or Civ?
Yeah. Hi. Big Deal Scorpio. Scorpios probably wins that unless Big Deal manages to like drive that fight perfectly, which isn't impossible because Emmanuel Carino is a good driver, so it could happen. Hijinks Captain Shredder is probably Hijinks kills Captain Shredder. Hijinks exchange like 3 hits. Captain Shredder dies, and that's the fight. Yeah, I don't know.
Counter based.
What do you got, Civ?
I think I just talk about Hijinks and Ripperoni, and that will probably be the saddest fight live aired on television of all time.
Yeah.
I'm talking worse than Pain Train versus me.
Oh god.
Hey, Ripperoni's funny at least.
So
whoa! Pory doesn't think Pain Train is funny.
I think.
Damn, he's dissing Pain Train.
No, Pain Train.
He's dissing Pain Train.
I think if I had to, I think the loser of the match will be the fans, definitely. I think it'll be probably a 50-second knockout on the fans. I don't see them surviving this match at all, unfortunately.
Watch this end up being like the best matchup of the season. Then Hijinks and Ripperoni.
I think it'll be. I think it'll be a fun fight. Because since it's Blackfield, I think it will be a fun fight. It'll be funny because Ripperoni's funny, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. But there's an issue I have with Ripperoni Hijinks, and that's that Ripperoni does not seem to have a way of dealing with horizontals.
I don't think we know that exactly, whether that's true or not.
Right.
I'm not. It doesn't appear. It doesn't appear that they do.
We don't know. We'll find out. But
see.
Yeah.
Brony's next fight is. Oh yeah.
It's Endgame. So we'll talk about that one later on too.
Draft.
So unless if anyone else has anything to talk about this one, we'll soon move on. We'll move on to the next fight, but. Hopefully Hijinks sorts out those issues we talked about, and hopefully Big Dill's able to rebound from this loss, because Big Dill has a tough schedule ahead of them with Scorpios, Mad Catter, then driving match with free shipping, which should be fun. So, great stuff ahead.
Yeah.
Definitely a tough road, but hopefully we can see both these robots bounce back. So let's move on to the main event.
I'm sorry, Summer.
Blip that fucking shit on. Let's go.
But main event. We had the winner of the Golden Bolt versus Robot that made the top 8. We got Blip and Endgame, a fight that I was absolutely betting was going to happen this season, and we got it. So
it was definitely. Well, I mean, Mantine caused the weapon to stop spinning. Apparently.
Yeah, he did.
Wait, how did Mantine cause the weapon to stop spinning? I need to hear you.
It's complicated. It's complicated.
It's complicated.
We can't say on the podcast.
Okay, that's fair.
It's the joke.
I'll tell you after.
Okay. Well, you guys go ahead, keep going.
This was a fight that Blip got shit on. So good fight, all in all.
Wait! You have a hate boner for Blip now too?
I've always had one. What are you talking about?
What?
No, you haven't.
I have never heard you have a hate boner for Blip until now.
Bro, have you not seen me talk about so much shit about why Blip is overrated?
No.
No,
It is, man.
no.
They made the top
They're
8.
overrated.
Oh, who did it fight? It fought Rusty, okay. It fought Overhaul. It fought Lockjaw.
Are
Which,
you mad because it beat Lockjaw?
Yeah,
well,
he's
yes
mad.
and yes and no.
He's mad because it beat Lockjaw.
It beat Valkyrie, who was definitely at its worst at that point. The only impressive feat to its name is beating Jackpot.
At least he said Jackpot is an impressive
And
robot. So otherwise I would have had to fight Civ for that one.
And people thought this
Man.
thing was going to beat Hydra. Funny.
It probably would.
It would
It
have
was
been
at
funny.
100%.
Yeah, I hope it did. I wish it did. It's gonna beat it this season.
But
Blip, why do you? Okay, but like, Summer loves Blip. Why are you hating Summer?
I hate everyone.
wow.
Okay.
But that's not
Okay. So
nice.
my thoughts
Yeah.
on this. My thoughts on this fight are. It kind of went how I expected, minus Endgame's weapon dying. That said, it's not. It wasn't a very. This was definitely the worst fight of the night.
Interesting take.
Kind of funny.
The second
I
half of it, the second half of it was like basement level, dude.
Yeah.
Well, you could
It
say that
was
about
not a
almost.
good
don't know if it was the worst fight of the night. I
Yeah.
would argue
I would
that.
consider it the worst fight of the night, but
Yeah.
that
Like
said,
the
it's
mystery, though.
no, at least Switchback Banshee was a little more back and forth. Like there was nothing Blip could do. Like they just were hopeless. In
Yeah,
this
but the thing
unfortunate-
is that Switchback and Banshee, like, both struggled to do anything.
yeah, like the second half of this fight, yeah.
Yeah, but like that happened the entire fight.
Enough of
So you're
that.
saying-
Pory, go ahead and finish talking about this fight.
So Blaze, so you're saying that you wouldn't make Switchback and Banshee the main event then?
Yes.
Okay, exactly.
Wait,
So
you
this
would?
fight shouldn't be a main event either.
Saying that's better than Switch. Okay,
No.
fine. Mad Cat or Whiplash should have been the main event.
A better main event? Hell yeah, it would have. 100%. That was a better fight.
What are we talking about?
I don't know.
Whether this fight was like good enough to be main event worthy.
Well, kind of like my
I mean,
opinions on that. My opinions on that. Definitely on paper, this probably would have been
On
the better
paper,
better
yes.
main event. But in theory, this fight, like I personally enjoyed this fight. I thought it was a great fight to see. Like I definitely preferred Mad Catter and Whiplash over this one. But I got some enjoyment out of this one. But I can see where Pory's coming from. Why Pory didn't like this fight. And that's absolutely okay. Hey,
For me. Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me.
Okay.
But
yeah, which that's totally respectable. And all that stuff. Like it might have been great for some people, like myself, and I think Blaze is hitting at that too. It might not have been so great for other people like Pory. So, and that's totally
It was
fine.
funny because Summer lost.
Wow.
I think it's fun. I think it's funnier.
And I won.
You want well, Blaze? I'm gonna respond to that. I think it's funnier the bet she made if Blip loses to Huge.
They better
we'll
keep
talk
it.
about
They
that.
better keep
We'll
that
talk
bet.
about that in the next opponent matchup screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let
Yeah.
Pory mention that when he talks about that. But as to me finish up analyzing this fight, Aaron Hill had this one pretty spot on when he got interviewed at the end of this fight. Basically, this matchup was going to come down to who wins the ground game at the beginning. Both these robots had like piano key setups basically, and Endgame just won the ground game and smashed apart Blip's ground game and the big hopes of it getting underneath Endgame, and that's kind of what won it the fight. Definitely what won Endgame the fight. I wish Battlebots would have put in a replay there showing the fork that jammed Endgame's weapon, like what Nick mentioned in the interview with Endgame. But it's pretty funny regardless, and Yeah, like, definitely, I think this was, regardless, I think this was a great showing from Endgame, but that's my opinion. Pory can absolutely disagree if you would like to, because Endgame
No, it was a good showing for them, yeah.
Endgame didn't just show that they have a nasty vertical spinner, but even without the weapon, like, even though there wasn't much Blip could do, like, the fact that Endgame was still able to push around Blip like that, like, with low-to-the-ground wedgelets, like, it definitely Jax driving won Endgame the match in this fight, in my opinion. And even if one of Blip's piano wedgelets got stuck in Endgame's weapon, and this was a solid victory from Endgame, in my opinion. And let's go ahead and talk about their next fights then, unless if anyone else has anything left to say about this one. So.
The next whip fight hurts me.
I think we need Pory to go first on this one for a very special reason that I hinted at.
Go Pory.
Blip fight's huge next. I'm really high on the huge train right now. I don't know what. I guess it's their first fight just really hit different, and I got huge going 4-0 this season now. Now that said, I initially had Blip going 0-4, but then I saw Banshee fight, so now I have Blip going 1-3. So huge. So my pal Summer, I don't know if they're watching. I hope they are. So friends. They told me that if because they're a big Blip fan, they said that if Huge beats Blip, they'll eat a whole jar of pickles, and I'm holding them to it because Huge clap Blip's cheek.
It better be on a Twitch stream too.
Yeah. It's gonna be a great. It's gonna be good. I don't know what Blip could possibly do outside of like making their own bike rack, which I don't think Aaron would do.
Aaron wouldn't do that. Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. As for Endgame Ripperoni, I want Ripperoni to win it so bad, but it's probably not going to. That said, Ripperoni is funny, so I'm looking forward to the fight. And I'll probably bet on Ripperoni because it's funny. And if they get it right, then I can rub it in Sip's face. It'd be cool.
My face.
But, because your Endgame was your brand like 2 years ago.
Cry about it. Hey, I rep a good robot. What did you rep in your Instagram? Fucking Complete Control?
What?
Yeah, I don't. Okay, for one, Complete Control is a good robot, and for two, at least I'm not grifting for the good robot. It made the finals in season 4.0. What are you on?
That was like a decade. That was like 2 decades ago, brother.
Yeah, 2 decades ago. What did Endgame win 2 decades ago? Endgame couldn't even make the bracket 2 years ago, so I don't want to hear it. 3 years ago.
Yeah, you need to do your math.
Three years ago, Endgame ain't even making bracket. They
neither could Ribot, you clown.
Yeah, so Endgame was your brand
Endgame
3 years ago. So
Ribot beat Endgame.
Pory.
Ribot beat Endgame, exactly.
Pory, look, clowns get paid $90K a year, and you're doing this shit for free. I mean, I don't.
Gosh.
What? Arguing? Wait, people. How much do the people arguing with the clowns get paid? Because that's what I need to get paid for right now.
Wow, what a comeback!
Oh, look at me! It's a million arc. I'm gonna be like, ha, you're a clown.
Okay.
Look, man. I'm just saying that Endgame was your brand. No, I
anyways, that was your guys.
I don't.
Pretty good. How about you, Blaze?
I don't play it safe with my predictions.
Good. How about
I'm like,
you?
I'm gonna go for the underdog.
Neither do I, brother.
I gotta go grab a thing of popcorn to watch this action between these two.
Brother, have you seen some of my Battlebots predictions? Like, what are you talking about?
Oh yeah, you did say double tap is gonna make this.
Double tap couldn't even be in the main comp though, so. Well, it technically is. Technically, is in the main comp. It couldn't be part of the main 50.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you have to keep in mind. Yeah. It's possible that
it is possible
could make a bracket.
Yep, it is possible.
It's very unlikely, but it is possible that it could happen.
Absolutely,
we'll have to see.
Yep, we'll have to see.
We'll probably see our first alt fight in like episode 5, I think, something like
I don't
that.
remember, but somewhere in that ballpark.
That's gonna be Double Tap fighting Rusty, and Double Tap's gonna
okay, maybe Double
knock out
Tap
by
is gonna
Rusty.
make the semis. Who knows?
Maybe, but Blaze, what do you think about these two's upcoming matchups?
Well, okay, the endgame matchup is free draft points, and the Blip huge just hurts me because I love Blip.
You do?
Yeah, Blip's amazing.
Okay.
Why do you hate Blip so much? It's adorable.
I mean, I know why, but I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah.
What? Why do I hate Blip Pory?
I'm not gonna
keep going, Blaze. Keep going, Blaze.
Right.
After the podcast, so.
After the podcast, so. But yeah, I don't see. Okay, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think Blip's flipper might actually be able to hit the chassis of Huge. I'm not 100% sure on that though.
I mean, I'm sure it can. I'd have to imagine that it would be able to touch it, but I just don't know who would be able to do like a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of where I would feel.
Honka was winning the Huge. Yo, Fortress. Oh, sorry.
What? Well, I'll go ahead and talk next. I'll start off with Blip and Huge. I find it very hard to believe that Blip will not come with a configuration for this fight with how serious they are.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're coming with. If they'll come with another bike rack, another unicorn attachment, or something completely different to fight Huge.
Hopefully not another bike rack.
We have no idea, but yeah, I definitely think a configuration is coming for Blip because there's not really much Blip can do. Like in the state, if you take the Blip that started this fight with Endgame, there's not really much it could really do to Huge because it might be possible they might be able to get the flipper up to the base of Huge, like what Blaze is saying. Like, I don't think so, at least with that, but I could very well be wrong about that because I don't know what the height difference is exactly between those two robots. But the only other way I really could feel Blip could get that flipper underneath and actually launch Huge would be if they get the flipper underneath the wheels and get at Huge from the sides. And they're likely going to take some hits in the process. But, like, even with the idea of the attachment, I'm probably going to go Huge on this fight. Right, just because like that in my opinion, Huge is like the worst possible matchup for Blip, and that's their next opponent, and like that's just such a tricky matchup for Blip, and I want Blip to succeed. I want them to rebound from this loss, but I don't think they're going to win against Huge, unfortunately, but. Hopefully, I'm wrong about that. Maybe we'll see maybe we'll see a separate attachment that works for this one. Since I definitely guarantee something like that's coming.
I have something for. So this is for Fusion Witch Doctor because I got bored and watched part of the trailer. I can confirm based off of they either run forks or they run the wedge. They do not run their typical front. Just based off of how the front looked.
Yeah, but anyway, then with Endgame Ripperoni, I'm kind of with Pory on this one in a way. Like I'm thinking I might predict Ripperoni just for the fun of it because on one hand I really want Ripperoni to win this fight. But I don't think it's going to. Like, this is another fight where Ripperoni is going to need to be on their A game with this one. Because, like, they didn't have both spinners going at the same time for the full fight with Gruff. And they're probably going to need that with Endgame. Because if they're gyroing as much as they were in that fight with Gruff, Endgame is going to very quickly get some huge hits on the underside and probably quickly knock out Ripperoni.
I have
if Ripperoni has both those working, if they can win the ground game against Endgame, they could win that fight, and that's kind of what I'm going for with that one. But I think odds are pretty unlikely they're going to win again. I think odds are pretty unlikely they're going to win against Endgame, but I'm still going to take that chance and go Ripperoni for that fight.
All right.
Okay, Blaze, what did you have to say?
A Ripperoni Endgame's a big mismatch. Even if Ripperoni won the fight, because of the schedules being decided at the start of the season, I don't understand. Like, it's just.
I can explain the match. I know why it's a thing.
Uppercut Endgame.
Yeah, they basically are like, this is uppercut, and that's why its schedule is the way it is. Its first fight was Gruff because they wanted an explosion. Their second fight is Endgame because Endgame uppercut is a sought after matchup. Like they're basically saying the selection committee is basically saying Ripperoni is the next uppercut, pretty much.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, they do have some uppercut team members.
Yep, they do.
Yeah, exactly. There's team members there, and the robot does have some similarities. So,
like, they have no sense of control whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, did uppercut have any sense of control?
Well, yeah, that's what he means.
Yeah, neither of them had any control.
Oh, that is true.
They were both high off of copium.
Of course, he's going to say that, but
yeah.
Yeah, anything on this matchup left to talk about, really? Or anything on the fight card before we close out this one and get to the power rankings part that'll be on the secret stash?
Your power rankings part?
Yeah, so that'll do it for part 1 of this podcast. So thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe button as usual. The links for all 4 of these people will be found down in the description if you would like to check out some of their content. They all post some pretty good content, even if some of them haven't posted in a while. Yeah, so... But regardless, they all post good content, and I would highly recommend checking out some of their stuff. So be sure to tune into the Green Square Secret Stash, where I will post our power rankings for after this episode, and I'll put a link to that in the description of this podcast. So definitely worth checking that out for some serious stuff and some Civ stuff. So yeah. Thanks for watching this, and I'll see you next time.